just woke up from the time of my life. It started with a major throwback. Then I got to meet the big shots. I found a sweet spot between cultures and hung out with the artsy crowd. I even picked up a few things along the way. After that, things kicked into overdrive. It started with a whirlwind through the streets, and unforgettable eats, a celebration of flavor in every bite, and an epic new party at every turn. The best thing about it here, the good times are never over.
Lights, city sights, shopping malls, little stalls, flip-flops, rock and roll, street smart, fine art, new and old, bronze, gold, warm, charm, hot and cold. Quick bites, fruity finds, nice smiles, wild style, cheap thrills, sky high, knick-knacks, welcome back. Every corner, fun, fun, fun. Manila, welcome back.
Live from Okada, Manila, this is the Department of Tourism National Capital Region's Leadership Excellence Series 2020, Rebuild and Redefine. To give us a brief introduction, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome DOT-NCR Regional Director Woodrow R.R. Makili.
We are back in business, but not business as usual. Time and time again, Philippine tourism has consistently proven its resilience and its ability not just to bounce back as a sector, but to lead the country's economic and social recovery. Amidst this uncharted territory, now we call the new normal, tourism offers a unique opportunity for a more sustainable and responsible conduct of business. One of the fastest ways to rebuild consumer confidence is through tourism because of its multi-sectoral breadth and deep social footprint. Come to think of it, as we have been told to stay at home out of fear due to an invisible threat, being locked down for weeks and even months will need a psychological letdown and let out. This is where tourism will play its role in helping people recover and rediscover oneself and the community. Without further ado, it is my distinct honor to welcome you all to the second edition of the Leadership Excellence Series, featuring another powerhouse lineup of speakers inspired by TED Talk format that aims to highlight the 21st century business and leadership acumen. Echoing the theme Rebuild and Redefine, this online learning envisions to take the lead in harnessing global leadership ideas and digital technology to grow local businesses. So sit back with your pen and notes and be energized and inspired by our invited thought leaders and influencers. Ria, take it away.
It is an exciting afternoon this last Friday of the month, the 30th of October, 2020, as we welcome you all to the most awaited second edition of the Leadership Excellence Series 2020, Rebuild and Redefine. And as you may have heard me say before, it's a new day, everyone. I'm Ria Tanwat Cotrillo, and I will be your moderator for today's online learning event. So thank you so much for joining us in this 2 hours of big ideas, intelligent disclosure, and some very inspiring talks. So we are coming to you live from Manila's grand icon and the new gold standard for 5-star luxury, the Okada Manila. You guys are happy to be here, right? Amazing. Okay, and we are live in what we now call a hybrid event. What does that mean? It means I want to shout out and say hi to all of our registered participants on Zoom, on Facebook Live at Tourism MNL. Also, those of you who are just subscribed to YouTube at Tourism MNL. And don't forget, across all of the PCOO's social media platforms. And then, of course, we are also simulcast, and we have our full live production here in Okada, Manila. So very quickly, just a brief background on our program. The Leadership Excellence Series 2020 is a set of powerful talks featuring some of the country's most awe-inspiring thought leaders, captains of industry, and influencers. So in its maiden edition that was held back in July 24 of this year, I believe, it featured 2 of the country's highly acclaimed motivational speakers and business gurus who I'm sure you've heard of before, the marketing mentor, Josiah Go, and the John Maxwell high impact trainer, Francis Kong. And it was a record-breaking event with over 1,000 registered Zoom participants and more than 1 million viewers, across all the different social media platforms. So congratulations to the DOT for that, really an achievement. For today, I'm happy to share with you that we have received a total of 750 and an increasing number of registrants for Zoom alone. And as of 2:15 this afternoon, we already have some 350 and increasing number of FB viewers and on YouTube as well. So we are very fortunate to be joined by some 700 members of the Association of Tourism Officers of the Philippines, and they are joining us live online all the way from across Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao. So a virtual welcome to Manila for all of you. Now, true to its promise, this trailblazing discourse returns to our screens today and puts the spotlight on big ideas and insights on 21st century leadership and business acumen, while also touching on the most pressing issues that we face in the world today. So all these and more in this 2-hour special that aims to rebuild and redefine the exciting trade of tourism. So we invite all of you to please be a part of our conversations by sharing and retweeting our real-time live updates on Facebook and Twitter at Tourism MNL. Also, Tourism MNL on Instagram and YouTube Live. We also have our hashtags for today. They are LES 2020, DOT-NCR, and Rebuild Redefine. So if you are going to go on social media, please do use those hashtags. Let your thoughts be heard by sending in your questions for each speaker, because what's going to happen is at the end of every topic, each speaker will be given 10 minutes to answer questions from our Zoom participants and online viewers through the comment sections in this live feed. So do make your questions count by asking the best and most interesting ones. So without further ado, let's start off today's program with some inspiring words from our country's tourism chief, Bernadette Romulo Puyat, Secretary of the Department of Tourism.
Jonathan Yabot, one of our resource speaker for today's session. R.D. Abelio, also a resource speaker. Ria Tanwatco Trillo, CNN news anchor and our moderator. R.D. Woodrow R.R. Makiling, DOT-NCR. Good day. Welcome to the second edition of DOT-NCR's Leadership Excellence Series. A lot has happened to the tourism sector since the first edition held last July. Our carefully laid out plans for a safe and gradual reopening have finally been put into motion, with the opening of Boracay to all domestic tourists, including those coming from GCQ areas, the launch of the Ridge and Reef Corridor Plan, and now we are on the second phase of the Ridge and Reef Corridor Plan, since Baguio and Ilocos Norte are also open to all Luzon residents, also coming from the GCQ areas, and the resumption of dive activities in Batangas. We have also successfully staged FITEX as a hybrid MICE event in Panglao, Bohol, using digital platforms to host B2B meetings between foreign buyers from 32 countries and 161 Philippine-based tourism enterprises. None of these would have been possible without the close collaboration between the Department of Tourism, the local government units, and our tourism stakeholders, who worked hard to develop policies that carefully strike a balance between the safety of the communities and the restoration of the community. We are also proud of the Visita system that was developed through the funding of the Tourism Promotions Board. This digital platform registers visitors and monitors their influx and activity through the use of QR codes. Currently used in Baguio, the system is being adapted for use in other provinces and will enable LGUs to harness the power of data for effective decision-making. We are also in partnership with Talino Ventures with the use of SafePass Express and Eat In Express, which is also a digital app that will help reopen our various tourism destinations. The relaxing of the community quarantine measures around the country will enable more people to travel locally, heralding the slow and eventual revival of the tourism industry. I'm looking forward to what lies ahead. On that note, I'd like to introduce the theme of today's Leadership Excellence series, Rebuild and Redefine, which builds on the success of the maiden edition's theme, Recharge and Revitalize. This series, spearheaded by DOT-NCR, aligns with the DOT's ongoing online learning program on innovation and entrepreneurship courses that seek to retool and upskill our stakeholders and tourism employees in preparation of business under the new normal. Our first distinguished speaker, Mr. Jonathan Yabut, whom you may remember as the first Filipino winner of the Apprentice Asia, will be discussing digital marketing and sharing perspectives on how to navigate your business in the digital landscape. We also welcome Mr. R.D. Abello, a top-ranked multinational speaker and high-impact trainer who will be talking about leadership strategies and how to thrive amidst the pandemic. I encourage today's participants, many of whom are local business owners, to engage with the different approaches to rebuilding and redefining your business strategies and to take advantage of the fast-changing world of e-commerce. I hope you use this opportunity to regain business confidence so that you may restart in a safe and sustainable manner as tourism activities start to kick into full gear. Let me commend the DOT-NCR led by R.D. Woodrow Makiling Jr. for organizing this exciting platform where industry leaders and thought leaders can exchange beyond business as usual insights that will help the tourism community rise to the challenges presented by the pandemic and beyond. I wish everyone a very engaging and inspiring webinar this afternoon. Thank you and mabuhay.
All right, thank you so much, Secretary Romulo Puyat, for those inspiring words that I think we really need to hear at times like this. So thank you very much, Secretary Romulo Puyat, for that. We really do look up to you for direction and inspiration as we resume the business of tourism slowly but surely amidst the challenges and opportunities brought about by what we now call the new normal. So we would like to start with our first speaker for today. Again, this is the Leadership Excellence Series 2020 Rebuild and Redefine. So to discuss his insights and how to thrive in digital marketing and technology, we have a man with very many accolades. I will give you just a few. He is the best-selling author of From Grit to Great, Fast Forward, Single Taken, or Building My Empire, and he has more than 10 years under his belt being a multi-awarded marketing and HR professional. He is a founder and managing director of the marketing consultancy firm JY Consultancy and Ventures. And he is, as Secretary Romulo Puyat said, the Filipino winner, the proud Filipino winner of the hit reality TV show, The Apprentice Asia. So please join me in warmly welcoming Asia's millennial guru, Mr. Jonathan Yabut.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ria, by the way, for the kind introduction. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. How is everyone doing? I need more energy, guys. Right? Yes, all right. And also, simultaneously, I know that we're all watching from our Zoom. We're watching also from our Facebook and also from YouTube. So I'm going to be asking all the participants right now, watching from the safety of your homes, please type an exclamation mark. By the way, I get to see your exclamation mark because in front of me is a screen right now. So please type that. I want as many exclamation marks as possible so that I can get the energy from everyone in the room. So as I start, my talk for today is simply entitled, and let me just move my slides. There you go. Can I just move my slides? There you go. All right. pivoting to digital in time of pandemic, business trends in retail and services. A few things I'd like to share. So our company is entitled JY Consultancy and Ventures. We are a company that involves itself in public speaking, business writing, technology, leadership, and the like. And also, we take pride of being Asia's world's widest motivational speaker and business speaker. We've done our sessions not only in Southeast Asia, but as far, for example, as New York, United States, and also in Buenos Aires in Argentina. We also invite you, if you'd like to ask us for a lot of the sessions involving, let's say, public speaking, they are all available in our website, free, 100%. They are webinars involving, again, business, writing, leadership, and the like. You can scan the QR code for all the participants watching from the safety of their homes. That's all available for you. Lastly, because I want to excite everyone in the room, please join our Viber community because in today's session, I only have 30 minutes for this, I am going to give away free tickets for our upcoming webinars. And whoever gets to answer quickly wins. You might be wondering, how do we get to do that? Because we're all scattered in different parts. As Ria mentioned a while ago, this is a hybrid event after all. So I have my phone with me. Whoever gets to answer first by scanning the QR code, which you get to see on your screens right now, or you can copy also the link. I'm gonna call out the person on my phone, and you get to win our tickets. Just in case you're wondering what those tickets are, the first one is our first ever session, Boost Your Confidence, happening on November 21 and 28. And the second one, which I think a lot of you may be interested, our third batch for advanced techniques on how to use Zoom, Google Meet, and Facebook Live. I think a lot of people need this in the hashtag new normal, especially when we're navigating the very confusing buttons of Zoom. Can I get a letter Z in the chat box for all the participants, please? I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. The entry and the exit chime, not knowing if your videos are still open, for example. Yes? Can I get an exclamation mark again if you can type that in the chat box? All right, let's start the session. And again, before I start, I want to get some energy. Please type exclamation mark or give us some hearts in the chat box. If you'd like to get a copy or access the handouts of our session, that's also displayed right in front of you. You can see the QR code or bit.ly/DOT-Digital. I'm giving you some handouts because I understand a lot of our entrepreneurs today would like to know more about social media. All right, COVID-19 will change us permanently. And the first thing I'd like to share is this. Number one, and the clicker is not working, by the way, so RD, FYI on that. More dependent on online transactions. What do we mean by that? It means that moving forward, a lot of our transactions need to be cashless and contactless. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. Can I get a letter G in the chat box? Many of us have started to get a GCash, a Paymaya, a PayPal account only because we've been forced to do so, and that's going to be even hastened as we move along. So that's the first one. The second one is we know that a lot of the events in the next 2 years remain to be about digital. What we're doing today is a hybrid example of that. Expect that your ability to charm, ability to build relationships is not only going to be confined face-to-face. My question is, magaling ka ba mag-connect even if it's virtual and even if you don't get to see your audience members? And that in itself is a true trademark of a great presenter. Finally, number three, we need to understand that it's not anymore EQ, IQ, or TQ. We have what we call as the PQ, or the preparation quotient. The ability of an individual to anticipate what happens in the future. Disasters, diseases, your finances, etc. This is going to be now what we call as the hashtag new normal. So my question is, have you trained your mind and heart to be resilient? Can I get a letter L, please, in the chat box? Could you please type that? Who here is a leader who now embraces that his goal is not just to technically equip people, but also ensure that their mental wellness is also covered. That's another part of our leadership skills. I'm saying that because at the end of the day, I want us to please be aware but not anxious. Can I please ask the participants in the room, or also the ones in the Zoom and chat box, YouTube or in Facebook, please type that. I just want you to commit to it. I am aware but not anxious. If you could please type that. Type that because I want you to remember this all the time. There's a difference between anxiety and awareness. Anxiety is when you just keep on reacting. Awareness is being aware of what you need to do next. So if I were to make a metaphor, it's very similar to these two things. And I want to ask you, which one are you? For example, are you, let's say, a thermometer? I'm sure sawang-sawa na kayo every time you go to a restaurant, a hotel, or anything else. It's always about the thermometer. Or are you, in this case, what we call as a thermostat? Could you please type in the chat box, what's the difference between the two? I'm gonna call out the participants in Zoom, YouTube, and also in Facebook. Could you please type? Whoever gets to find out, please type. So as you're typing that, I'm gonna warm it up. Ang thermometer, when it finds out that you are 17 degrees, it just keeps on reacting at 17 degrees, right? It does nothing about it. But when you're a thermostat, and you are designed to go back to the equilibrium of 18 degrees, you tell yourself that even if the temperature changes to 32 or 21, I have to go back to the balance. I have to go back to the 22 degrees that was set for me. So a thermostat doesn't only react. A thermostat responds. It takes control of the temperature back to where you were set. This, I think, is a very good metaphor of what the pandemic times requires all of us. Whenever things don't go the way you want it to be, do you react like a thermometer? Or do you respond like a thermostat, telling the rest of the universe, I know I don't like this, but I'm gonna take control of it because I need to take control of my life and the rest of my family and loved ones as well, right? Could you please type, which one are you? Type it in the chat box. Are you the thermometer or are you the thermostat? Can I also ask the audience, my small audience here, shout out, are you the thermometer or the thermostat? I'm sure you are the thermostat. We choose to become the thermostat at the end of the day. So therefore, now that we've established that, companies since March 2020, when we've all been started to lock down, reliant on physical retail and services, and I can totally relate, some of my family members are in the tourism business as well, reliant on physical and retail services quickly pivoted in the time of pandemic. So I'd like to share a timeline. Our company involves itself in digital marketing, and we've seen how a lot of organizations change. For example, when you look at March was the type of stage 1. More companies started intensifying their online presence. Yung mga ibang company na hindi naniniwala sa Instagram, biglang nagkaroon ng Instagram account. Some services who didn't even have a LinkedIn account suddenly thought, yes, I have to embrace LinkedIn account as well. And then sometime in April, that's when a lot of companies started to realize Lazada and Shopee has been there for quite some time, but why am I not there? And so you will notice today almost every gung-ho organization or company now embraces online storefront and payments. I worked for a telecommunications company, Globe Telecom, 15 years ago, and I remember GCash was a nobody brand. Most of the department people in that company was begging merchants in order for them to become part of GCash. Now it's the other way around. It's them being begged by so many companies to be able to create an account because that's the best way to be able to transact and connect with their customers. Sometime in April and May, it started even evolving. You will notice by now, which I will discuss later on, that a lot of organizations started expanding their customer service and presence. Case in point, can I get a letter V in the chat box? Could you please type it? Who here is a member of a Viber community today? And as we all know, if it weren't for Viber community, I will not be able to know the opening and closing hours of my favorite malls. How do I get to deliver my favorite food? How do I get to transact with other people? Finally, and we will see this even more, May onwards, we started seeing organizations to stage 4, expanding to content publishing. I'll give some examples of Filipino companies who are doing well on this, but content publishing is simple. You sell not because you want to offer the item, but because you want to entertain, you want to inform, you want people to keep on anticipating your posts on social media. That's very relevant in the age of Instagram stories, in the age of TikTok, YouTube, and the gold standard today, if you are existing as a brand, you ought to have at least one webinar per quarter. Can I get an exclamation mark if you can relate to that? I hope the people who are listening to this start to continue their content publishing as well. So, let's talk about the next steps. John, gets ko na. How do I therefore improve my online presence and improve my ability to connect with my customers? And my tip number 1 is this: be obsessed with your online presence. What does this mean? Everyone is now driving on the same road. That's what we call as social media. That's what we call as the internet. Therefore, you're competing for the same amount of attention, and yet that's so hard because everyone is driving in the same lane. So, can I please ask all our business owners who are watching on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook, I want to give you a quick challenge. Take out your phones, or if you're in front of your laptop, please type it now. I want you to Google search your company or brand name and check the first 2 inches of the search results on your phone. I'm going to give you 10 seconds for this, right? Company name, brand name. If you're the business owner, probably you can type it. If you're a sales agent, I'm even going to call out people in the service industry. Let's say you're in the insurance industry, real estate industry, or whatever industry it is. Type your name. Now, could you please type in the chat box, what exactly did come out when you type that? And if our small audience here, I'd like to invite you, if you also like to do that, you can do that. Okada folks, you can also do that, right? So I'm seeing the answers now in the chat box. Some people are saying they're seeing their names, they're seeing their Facebook accounts, they're seeing their LinkedIn accounts. What we know today is that when you type in the chat box, what you see in the search results are the following. So you're gonna see a lot of social media accounts bearing your name. It could bear your photo. It could bear some news items. If there was any company, let's say for example, CNN or Inquirer, who mentioned your company and your name on it. Why is this important? The first thing that any customer is going to do if you're charging them and asking them for a payment is not to easily believe in you. Agree? Can I get an exclamation mark? Let's say, for example, I'm a dealer from a real estate or a car company, and I start asking you, Ma'am, magda-down payment na po tayo ng 200,000 pesos. Obviously, if I can't get to see you face-to-face, and I have no choice but to do that down payment via my online bank account, the first thing that I will do is to research your name. Yes? Can I get an exclamation mark? What does this mean? If your online presence is poor, and I cannot even see your name on the first 3 inches, could you please type in the chat box, what's the first thing that people will think about you? Could you please type? I'll give you 10 seconds for this. You can type this on your Zoom, on your YouTube and Facebook, right? Ang unang iisipin ni customer, isa kang scam, that you might not be legit at all. What does this mean? Your online identity is the identity that matters. Whether you are a hotel, a restaurant, or a small-time seller of plants, your online identity is one of the most important things to shout out to the rest of the world that you are legit. So creating that Facebook account, creating that LinkedIn account, creating that website, being present on Viber is not an excuse. It is a non-negotiable part of our responsibilities today. All right? Can I get an exclamation mark? Let's check your energy. If you're on Facebook, please give me some hearts. I would appreciate that. Thank you. And again, if you'd like to get a copy of our handouts, you can scan the QR code or you can copy the link and you can have a copy of this entire presentation. Tip number 2, and this is my favorite part as well, be relentless in being available to your customer when you can, 24/7. Why am I saying this? It is tough to compete for customers' attention because everyone's doing it. So sometimes, if you can't compete with them, you have to build the space for that attention. I'm talking about, in this case, Viber communities. So for example, let's do a quick poll. Could you please type your answers in the chat box? I'm calling out folks on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Are you a member of a Viber community today? Could you please type your answer? Letter A, yes, lots of them. B, no, I'm not aware of it, and now you are going to be. Or letter C, tell me about it. That's what I'm gonna do after this session, right? So let's look at the chat box. Some people are typing A, very good. I'm sure a lot of Filipinos are into Viber. Viber is very vibrant in our country. Viber communities is so unique. WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger don't have this right now. Even Telegram, which is becoming a very popular platform, does not also have this. In Viber communities, you get to subscribe to daily updates of any online business, so you get to know their opening and closing hours, what are the exclusive promos, etc. For those who are typing in the chat box, could you please type, ano mga favorite Viber community ninyo? All right, so I'll show you one of my favorite. Of course, I'm a big fan of Jollibee. So Jollibee has one of the highest followers today in Viber community, I think around 40,000 followers. You also have here the SM Supermalls. I live in Taguig, and so I'm only dependent on a lot of the deliveries done. And it's so unique sa SM Aura. They even tell you what is the queue of their supermarket down to every 2 hours. Ganun sila ka-specific. Which means it entices me to know when is a good time to enter and when is a good time to delay. my scheduling of my visits as well. A few more examples, a lot of other pharmacies and stores like Watson's are also available in Viber today. And of course, our very active Department of Health also has a very vibrant Viber community, right? Can I get the letter V again if you're subscribed already to that? These are only big companies. Can you imagine that today, since March 2020, Viber has reported that in the Philippines, there are thousands and thousands of Viber communities. May Viber community for plantitos and plantitas. May Viber communities for simply talking about your interiors in your house. All of these things are for free. That's what I love about Viber community, right? I'm not being paid, by the way, to say this, but it is a must for any organization today to have a Viber account. This is why, from our end, we also have our own Viber community. So I'm gonna ask you to please join our Viber community. We give you daily career and tips. We also announce our offerings for our webinar. And speaking of Viber, let me do my first contest now. Okay ba kayo dyan? So let's give away free tickets. I'm gonna give away free ticket to the first person. I'm gonna check my Viber now. November 12 and 13 is our premium webinar, Advanced Techniques for Using Zoom, Google Meet, and Facebook Live. Perfectly designed for HR recruiters, trainers, and also salespeople. So I'm gonna check my Viber now. And here is my question. Kailangan members kayo ng Viber community namin. So that means you have to contact our Viber admin in order for you to be a winner. Fastest fingers wins. That's our QR code if you're not yet a member. And that's our link. So my question, it's a fun game, by the way. My question is this: what do you think is the top view of this? I'll give you 15 seconds. Meron tayong konting delay sa Facebook. It's usually a 20-second delay, so I'm gonna wait for that. So regardless if you're on Zoom, your YouTube, or Facebook, I get to have your answer. Okay, I now have some answers here. Okay, I have 12 now. Let me just check who got it correct. I have 24. Wow, ang bilis ninyo. Okay, let me just check. Some people got it wrong, however, unfortunately. All right, my winner, the name is Mr. Vincent Pilien. Congratulations, Vincent. I'm putting an exclamation mark now here para lang alam mo ikaw nanalo. The answer is letter C. Okay. Congratulations, let's move on. Don't worry, meron pa tayong isa pang contest after that. While you're still on a high, could I please check your energy? Give us some like, give us some hearts, please, on your chat box. If you're on Facebook, we would appreciate if you get to share that also on your newsfeed. All right? Finally, I'll end with this last note. This is my last lesson. Please expand your mindset from being a seller to being someone else. You're not just a seller, you're also an entertainer, you're also a content publisher. That is the gold standard in today's pandemic. Customers are hungry for entertainment and info in the time of pandemic. So take advantage of this demand to get what we call as brand love. What do I mean by this? I'll show you some Instagram screenshots. This is IKEA, which is about to be built next year. This is Nike, one of the most engaging Instagram accounts for sports. And also, you have AirAsia, where I was an alumni a few years ago. If you look at their Instagram accounts, you will notice wala sa kanilang nagbebenta. Wala ka makikitang buy, 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 discount, 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 purchase, purchase, purchase. All of their accounts are simply about stories. Nike is not selling shoes, it's selling victory. IKEA is not selling furniture, it's selling small spaces that can be propped up to the beautiful place that you can own. AirAsia is not just selling flights from point A to point B, it is selling destinations. So when you look at their Instagram account, you will notice, and I'm trying to encircle that now, you'll notice that a lot of them, right, have photos and videos at calculated land. If you look at their accounts, you're seeing the circles now. My photo, my video, my photo, my video. It is calculated, it is not accidental, because the point is that even if I'm not buying a flight, even if I'm not buying a pair of shoes, neither a new furniture, I want to keep on anticipating your posts because I'm delighted by the posts. I get entertained, I get informed, I get inspired. This is what we call, by the way, as content marketing. At the end of the day, if you are a seller, you are not just selling, you are also publishing content. We're selling stories, we're not just after sales. We're selling inspiration, not just after income. We're selling entertainment, not just enrollment or subscription into your business. If you're an online seller, you have to embrace this mentality. Because no customer would want to just keep on following you because benta ka lang ng benta. Case in point, posts usually come in 3 categories. And I want you to reflect, ganito ba kayo mag-post sa inyong social media? We have one category called information. Press release, product announcement, blog post. Meron tayong promotion, nagbebenta ka lang, discount, sales, partnerships, and freebies. And finally, you have entertainment. That's when you make some videos that are funny. You make some mini teleserye that's related to your brand. Anything that wants me to be entertained or inspired. Here's the problem. Many of us fall into the trap of just keeping on promoting and selling. Benta lang ng benta. So for example, can I get an exclamation mark in the chat box of our Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook? May kilala ba kayong ganito? Every day, lahat ng post niya, buy, 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 sell, 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 benta, benta, benta. This is the kind of calendar that will make your customers unsubscribe, unfollow. Why? Because they won't be buying your products all the time. They will only keep on following you if there is a reason to follow you in the first place. So what you want to become is to transform yourself into a content publisher. In this case, you do what we call as diversifying your content. Day 1, you can have information. Day 2, you can have entertainment. Day 3, you sell. So that on certain days or certain hours of the day, there's something to anticipate about your post. This is the gold standard today when it comes to digital marketing. If I were to put that into a calendar now, if you look at it, and I'm sure a lot of our business owners are into this is what happens on your 30-day calendar. Kung bago ka pa lang, you may post once a day. Paiba-iba ang post mo. But when you become an expert, you start graduating into a more complex type of animal. And that, in this case, is you do it twice. You do it 3 times, for example. So, if I show this now, pwede kang 2 times, isa sa umaga, isa sa gabi. Some people, and if you look at accounts like Coca-Cola, Nestle, and all other companies, they don't post just once a day. They may post 3 times or 4 times a day. The point is, they don't just sell. They inspire, they entertain, and they motivate. So can I please ask, and here's a poll, can I ask all our participants in the chat box, are you now more conscious of what type of content do your teams post online? Could you please give me an answer? Letter Y or letter N? Yes, I'm more aware of the repercussions of doing promotional posts only. Or letter N, I've yet to post more actively. Whatever your answer is, that's fine. The key to self-improvement is self-awareness. You won't be able to become a better person if you don't count it. And remember, what is measured can be improved. Could you please type that in the chat box? What is measured can be improved. If you don't keep score of your activities online, you won't be able to identify what needs to be changed as well. All right? Can I get an exclamation mark before we go to the last part? Give us some hearts on Facebook, please. I am checking your, I have in front of me the message board, so thank you for those who have typed that. Let's do our last contest, okay? Grabe, nag-exercise ako with this clicker, ha? Let's do a contest with Viber now. Bibilang ko kayo ng bagong clicker, by the way. Bibilang ko kayo. Don't worry. Let's do our last contest. Boost your confidence for November 21 and 28. It's a public speaking. We have around 5 nationalities from Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand who always participate actively. So the entire session is in English. I'm going to give away 5 tickets for the winner, so you can tag along your friends. And I'm going to check my Viber account now. And here is my question, ladies and gentlemen. Move only 1 glass so that the row has alternating full and empty glasses. I'm gonna wait. Ang bilis ninyo, hindi pa nga ako tapos magsalita eh. Okay, my winner is Kathy Poblete. Alright, congratulations Kathy. Bakit ang bilis ninyo? Alam niyo na ba to? Alright, so the answer is you get the glass number 2 and then you pour it into number 5. Kathy, I am typing exclamation mark in my chat box so that you know that you're the winner. Please send us an email. You see that on the screen. Email jonathanyabut@jycvasia.com and my team will get back to you. All right, let's get back to business. Last part. What do we mean by content publishing? Content publishing is what Jollibee has been excellently doing well even before COVID-19. Can I get an exclamation mark if you're familiar with these very, very popular videos? right? My favorite one is The Vow. I think a lot of us fell into that trap of crying because that's what they want. What does Jollibee do? In all of these videos, hindi siya nagbebenta directly ng kanyang cheeseburger or ng kanyang Chicken Joy, right? You may be aware that just this morning they announced that their champ and their burger steak is making a comeback, so I can't wait for that, right? Jollibee, if you're listening, I would love to have some of those as well, right? What Jollibee is doing is trying to amass what we call as emotional bank account, the amount of brand love deposited in your customer's heart. The ability of people to connect to you, even if you're not selling the product, they love you because they know that they understand what you're going through. So since the past 7 months, question, have you attended at least one webinar sponsored by a company? I'm sure you have. If you're doing, this is one example of that. If your answer is A, yes, I do it often, many companies today commit to this as the gold standard. Because if we can't see each other physically, we have to see each other virtually. Case in point, I've done this many times for Sun Life Financial. We promote financial wellness in their monthly webinar series. For example, last August, we're very thankful because we did a 2-hour webinar in which we engaged a lot of their youth on how to promote financial wellness in their business. This is a webinar that doesn't directly sell the insurance but gives also tips. I'll give you one more example. This is, ang hirap talaga pumindot. RD, good luck later, ha? Colligione C2. It's a local fashion company, retailer, launching their Pinoy Street Games t-shirts. This is our very well-loved brand. So what they did a few weeks ago, we did a online launch. So this company, by the way, and if you're interested, just go to their Facebook page. They have lots of cool shirts. May sipa, turumpo, piko, and it's all available online. And so we did a virtual launch in which we talked to the Filipino artist Chico Quizon, who's based in New York, who was the designer of the t-shirts as well. This is also a gold standard. Here's one more. The owner of this is a very good friend of mine. This is Blade. I'm sure you've seen it in a lot of malls. It's a local automotive parts hardware retailer venturing into online radio and teleserye. So for the past few weeks, what they've been doing is meron silang mystery box, meron silang DJ from an online radio station, and then they engage their audience. You will notice that companies are now evolving. They're not just selling, they're entertaining. They're publishing also content at the end of the day. I want to give proof to that. When you look at the stats of January 2020, the Philippines is composed of 3 main activities online. You look at the stats, what are the top 5 or top 10 websites? You have Google, you have YouTube, you have ABS-CBN, Yahoo, and Inquirer, for example. It only gives us one thing to look at. The top 3 reasons for using the internet, apart from socializing, is information, entertainment, and shopping. I want to highlight this. We're very lucky because not all countries have a very active and vibrant social media population. Can I get an exclamation mark if you can relate to that? In case you take it for granted, not all countries are always online. The Philippines is massively online. Milk that. Take opportunity of that. And with that, as I end, here's one last story, just to inspire our business owners. In 2012, one of the biggest companies in the world, Kodak Eastman, filed for bankruptcy. It filed for bankruptcy because it did not want to evolve into digital. Sabi niya, we're doing so well. We're 85% owners of the market. Why change and go to digital? But smartphones came in, Friendster happened, Multiply happened, and Facebook happened. People did not need to print photos anymore. They just need to upload them online. But something happened to their other competitor, Fujifilm. They were also at the brink of wanting to file for bankruptcy. But their R&D and research team said, teka lang, let's not file yet. I think we can do something about our business. Let's pivot to something else. And the interesting thing about Fujifilm is that their scientists know that the same chemical used to preserve color photography, and that is collagen, is the same collagen that we use today for skin care. Can I get a letter C in the chat box? If you can relate to that. I'm sure a lot of our female audiences can relate to collagen. So what did Fujifilm do? Fujifilm said, we are a photography company, but we're also a chemical company. So we're going to pivot into skincare. And so starting 2013, Fujifilm created a new business. And that is why Asta Lift, which is one of the top 5 skincare products in the world for age lifting and for skin preservation, was born. this company pivoted into a totally different business. I want to give one more inspiration. Are you guys familiar with a vegan? Yes, that is Favipiravir. I came from the pharma industry also, by the way. One of my most inspiring stories is this. A vegan today is being scheduled for a lot of landmark studies if they can be an antiviral drug for COVID-19. Guess who's the company who's responsible for it? Can you make a guess? Type in the chat box. It's the same company that wanted to file for bankruptcy but pivoted. Favipiravir, or a vegan, is actually owned by Fujifilm Pharmaceuticals. Such an inspiring story about how, in the times of adversity, you get to become a better version of who you are. And as I end, here's my last quote from one of my favorite athletes of all time. That is Billie Jean King. Sabi ni Billie Jean King, ang hirap talaga mag-press ng button. All right. Sabi ni Billie Jean King, pressure is privilege. Can you please repeat that for me? Type that in the chat box. Pressure is privilege. When you feel that everything is pressuring you, don't take it as a bad thing. It means that you are being pressured to do something that people care about. It's a business. It's someone that people love. It's something that people rely on for their livelihood. And so don't take it. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a necessary condition to pivot eventually for success. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much for having me. And can I get an exclamation marks again in the chat box if you've learned something from that? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that, Jonathan. Really interesting stuff and inspirational as well, which I'm sure a lot of our attendees and our viewers online are really appreciate. So now we have 10 minutes, so if you guys do have questions for Mr. Jonathan Yabut, please type them in the chat. All right, and again, each question will be shown on the screen for everyone's guidance. And we want to entertain as many questions as we possibly can, but we do have a limited time, so we'll do what we can. All right. So while we're waiting for those questions, Jonathan, I actually have one of my own. In your business, what were the pivots that you had to make since the pandemic hit?
One is obviously digital. So I'm in the business of consulting. I'm in the business of doing our workshops. We usually do our face-to-face meetings with our clients. So everything became all in Zoom, all in Microsoft Teams. The biggest challenge for me was understanding, I'm sure you can relate to this, what buttons to push, right? How do I turn on my video? How do I turn off someone else who's not muted properly? This irritates you, but it takes weeks for you to finally understand it. And originally, you would think that this is a chore, but it's no longer a chore. It's as basic as brushing your teeth every night. So I embrace that. That was a mental challenge for me.
All right, it seems you've made that pivot pretty quickly. And we do have a question now from somebody online. How do you make your brand stand out in the online market? As you said, everybody's there. Everybody's on the same road. How do you, stand out from the crowd?
Right. So the first thing is most people would say it's about the brand. It's about the logo, the color, the feeling, etc. But when everyone's competing in the same field, what makes you stand out is your speed and quality of response. I can't highlight this. Every person is about immediate gratification. Kapag nagtanong sa'yo sa Facebook page, and if you're not there available for them, what will the person do? Maghahanap ng ibang seller. In a span of 5 minutes, if you're not there, sorry, I'm gonna move to someone else because there's a line out there waiting for me. If you can automate your Facebook page responses, if you can automate your Instagram responses, they're for free, by the way, do that because that's what sets you apart from others.
All right, and that in itself is another skill to learn, how to automate your answers on your different social media platforms, right? Okay, another question for you, Jonathan. What platforms are the most important to be present in? I guess this also might depend on what kind of industry you're in and who your market is, right?
Agree. So if you're into fashion, if you're into food, if you're into anything that stimulates the eyes, because they're enticed to look at it, Instagram obviously is a good part of that. Instagram also invites the younger crowd. If you're, however, in the mainstream business, Facebook is still going to be there. If you're into services, law firm, legal services, hospitality, etc., it's also important to be on LinkedIn because that's where everyone looks for a provider, a supplier. But my answer to all of these is simple. It is not about choosing which platform should you be only. Remember that online business is like a raffle. The more raffle entries you put, the higher the chance of winning. So if you're a clothing company, like our client, Colligione C2, we tell them, you have to be on Facebook, you have to be on Instagram, you have to be on Viber, and you have to have your website. Not everyone is going to be on Facebook the entire time. Morning, titingin ka sa Facebook. Sa gabi, titingin ka sa Instagram. Bago ka matulog, titingin ka sa Viber. If you're not in any of these platforms, you're missing the opportunity for your customers to trigger themselves to buy.
As you said, be obsessed with your online presence.
That's right.
Right? Be obsessed. Okay, another question for you, Jonathan. What are ways to enrich content? And could you please give us tourism type of examples?
I remember when I was in college, the gold standard for tourism was having advertorials in magazines, right? I worked for the airline industry for 4 years, so it's always about having nice photos, etc. This is like very passé in 2020. It's all about walkthrough. I will not believe in what you post because you could have just fabricated that. What I need to know is an entire video of me hanging out in your place, either dining in, sleeping, enjoying the company, because the more people put that out, the more I will see that it's authentic. The Generation Y and Generation Z is all about authenticity. These people are also influencers themselves. So whatever you put online, they know what's in the back end. Alam nila if you just took that photo for 24 hours or so, pero alam din nila kung alam nila na ang pinost mo is something that they can also enjoy when they visit your hotel, your restaurant, etc. Especially today, safety is an issue. Showcase in the videos how safety is an important part of your establishments.
Right. Yeah, I like the idea of the walkthrough since, travel is only just opening up now. I know me and my family, we like to get on YouTube and just watch other people's vacations and dream about the day that we can actually go there. But they're so informative, actually. It's not just entertaining. It's like when we watch that, we say, oh, sige, when we go, let's do that also.
That's right.
Diba? That's how you figure out what you might want to do. And I'm sure people get wonderful tourism ideas from that. All right. So I think we do have a couple more questions, do we? I think we have a little more time. Again, you guys can ask us on our social media platforms. If you are on Facebook or Zoom, we'd be happy to have them here. Okay, here's one. It says, what is the best online platform to build online engagement for small entrepreneurs in tourism industry? So what advice can you give the smaller players, Jonathan?
Firstly, I'm not a big fan when you say what is the best, because there will never be a best. The goal is to be present in as many platforms as you can. But let's assume you don't have much time. If you have to choose one, go for the king of it all, and that's going to be Facebook. 70 million Filipinos out of the 108 million are on Facebook. A higher chance of you to be connected is through the same content. Plus, ang Facebook, hindi lang siya photos and videos. It's also links. It's also articles. Lahat integrated. And if you're not familiar, they also announced a few months ago, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook are going to be integrated into one dashboard that allows you to talk to customers regardless of where they are. Because Facebook is also the owner of Instagram and is also the owner of WhatsApp.
All right, so also learning where these integrations lie, I think, is really important, and to figure out where your customer and where your market is, right? That's exactly where you need to be. Now, my question for you also, Jonathan, is when it comes to content creation, sometimes you look at Instagram and it seems like people are kind of posting the same stuff, right? So you want to do what is eye-catching, you want to do what is trendy, but you still want to stay true to your own identity. How do you do that?
Know who your target market is. I always say this to a lot of influencers. If you want to promote, let's say, are you an upscale or are you pangmasa? Are you mainstream or do you capture everything? Unless you know who your target market is, that will not be able to help you. Ang post ko ba dapat something that's accessible to my audience, or dapat ba meron siyang luxury feel that will make my audience feel that this is what I want to portray? If you don't know who your target market is, identify who you want to become. And sometimes it's a trial and error. Sa umpisa, gusto mo ito ka muna, gusto mo itong i-portray mo, and then later on you realize, teka lang, I don't think this is my market. And then you pivot to something else. That's fine. You need to buy time, and time is an investment in your end also.
Jonathan, what is your view on brands, big or small, using endorsers, influencers, and celebrities, especially when it comes to tourism? How effective is that potentially?
I always would vouch for it. Remember, an influencer or any personality captures emotions. They represent a feeling. They represent an identity. If you do not have yet that identity as a restaurant, if you don't have that an identity as a hotel or as a resort, you can borrow their identity. That's exactly what they do. They lend that identity to you. Plus, here's one more, there's the reach. Right? No matter how much you spend on advertisements on whatever platform, if an influencer has a high base of 200,000 or 500,000 people, that's easy win for you. So if you can capitalize on them, do so. If there's one caution I'd like to ask from our owners, if you want to do some influencer or projects, please make sure that you know who they are targeting. And number two, who were the past companies that they have engaged with. Because their past companies also reflect the other branding that they have been portraying in the past.
All right, do you look at simply the number of followers? You know, they have 6-digit followers. Okay, this is a sure thing for me. What do you look at aside from the numbers?
That's a very good question. So in marketing, we have a macro influencer. We also have a micro influencer. So a macro influencer, you have more than hundreds of thousands of followers. They're good kasi mabilis ang reach. However, masikip din because they have probably other endorsements that are on their newsfeed. Micro-influencers, on the other hand, may not have that best reach, but these are people who usually have more personal touch. They also have a niche topic that they can talk about. So when we prescribe a strategy, target both. You have a macro-influencer, but you also have your micro-influencers. Kung may budget ka naman, do both at the same time. Kung maliit ang budget, you can also have micro-influencers. Here's what I'm gonna ask, however. Influencers alone is not a stand-alone strategy. Kapag may influencer ka, dapat meron ka ring robust na Viber, may robust kang Instagram, may robust kang Facebook na nangyayari.
All right, grabe no, it's so many things to think about. Know your brand, know your market, where they are, and then you also have to research the influencers that you will potentially use in your own marketing strategy.
That's right.
Okay, for people in the tourism industry who are literally just starting out digitally, I mean, you have to understand, you know, for a digital native like yourself, it's, you know, it's second nature, right? But for somebody who's not yet familiar with social media, not really used it from a business perspective, it's very overwhelming, right? What are the baby steps that they can take so they can manage this successfully and not get overwhelmed and quit?
Very good question. The first thing that we ask our clients to do is we give them a list of top 10 favorite companies that we follow. Because when you get to see these top 10 companies or 20 companies, you get to see their strategy one by one. Paano sila mag-post? Gano'ng kadami per day? Are they a video or are they more photo? Nagpapa-online contest ba sila or are they all static? So, knowing the trial and error method means accepting the fact that you learn from the best of the best, you also learn from their mistakes. And you have to embrace it, by the way, mental wellness part to. There will be many moments wherein what you post may not be what you thought is going to be viral, right? I've had these kinds of clients, nag-spend ng 500,000 pesos, ang ganda ng video, but it didn't get the number of likes that they want. That happens. So it's a trial and error. When you make that mistake, take it to experience, and then move forward with the learnings from that. It's part of the investment also.
Okay, you mentioned money, right? You look at some Instagram feeds and they are beautiful, they are gorgeous, they are well curated, and frankly, they look like they've had a lot of money spent on them, right? Again, for a small business, for a business that's starting out, how can they achieve that level of, I don't know, aesthetics, of beauty, and yet not break the bank?
My friend who owns a small business, he learned everything just by watching YouTube tutorials. Bumili siya sa Lazada ng isang widescreen, bumili siya sa Shopee ng isang camera, lahat yan man-made cottage type of like small, I'll do it on my own. It is possible to do it without breaking the bank. It is possible to do it without having to spend so much money, but you need to hustle. It takes a lot of time and hours. Trial and error ulit. The first few months wasn't good quality. Later, as he gets the hang of it, he was able to get through. So meaning, you have to buy time. So start it now if you want to do it.
All right, there's no shortcuts, I guess, right? Okay, Jonathan Yabut, thank you so much for
My
sharing
pleasure.
your expertise with us. Thank you so much. All right, so that ends the first part of our program, and I do hope that Mr. Yabut was able to stimulate your brains with his insights and ideas on the digital world. I don't know about you, but I definitely learned a lot in his 30 minutes with us. Okay, for now, we're going to have a 5-minute break, so don't touch that dial. Please stay tuned because we've prepared a documentary feature as proof of concept and synthesis of our first topic and an introduction into our next discussion. So please, let's watch this. Thank you.
Tourism is one of the main economic drivers of our economy, contributing to 12.7 in our GDP. 5.4 million jobs were created. And in 2019, we reached as much as 8.3 million foreign tourists in our country. When we have this pandemic, all of the economic sectors in our country was hardly hit. You have all of these tourism sites that are closed, all the hotels that are closed, all these restaurants are likewise closed. We have 78% contraction of the economy based on the tourism industry sector. Jobs are lost talaga, like 5.4 million are working with tourism industry. And that's why we are doing all of these efforts to really uplift the industry. But it's not all bad stories, We have success stories as well. In the case of French baker, Mr. John Liu was able to ensure that there's continuity in terms of livelihood for its people. Not a single employee was fired during the pandemic. Not a single employee lost his job.
Opportunities are there. We will have to think differently. Are we hopeless? Of course not. There are always strategies to counter issues.
Unless we take a different perspective from an entrepreneurial view, then we might just lose hope. We adapt. We have to start with that mindset saying that we can adapt. The key to business recovery is to restore confidence. Confidence not only in our clients, but customer also in our people.
It was in 1989, the autumn of 1989. Sometime September when we opened our first store. It was at the SMCB North EDSA. I told myself if I was just going to sell things that were being sold in the supermarket, then there would not be much differentiation and excitement. So I decided to look around, and I went back to my notes in 1985 when I first traveled to Europe. And just savoring the bakeries there in Paris left found it never left me. The memory never left me. And so I looked for experts who could help me. And then I started French Baker. And why the French Baker? Because of my memories of Paris back in 85. Paris was a beautiful dream, was a beautiful adventure, was the most beautiful city in the world. And I wanted to communicate to my consumers all the experiences that I got from France via my products. So that started it all. And later on, the growth came with SM. The first store was so successful that in 6 months I was offered a second store. In 9 months, a third store. And in 2 years, my 5th store. And the adventure and the stress of expanding goes on until today. So I knew that if this pandemic would not end, it will bring about disruption upon disruption, economic disruption. So at the back of my mind, I was already looking at a fallback position, what ifs. So I knew that the max time is 6 months. And I knew that bread is such a comforting, nutritious product. Never mind the lechon, never mind the buffet. And so when the pandemic hit and we were asked to shut down, I asked the one store, can you please stay open and be the beacon of light? Can you please stay open, you people, and I shall be with you. And since that day, and before this one, I've been in the store every single day during the period we were locked down. Because as a person and as a leader, I believe that you cannot be an armchair general giving orders if you cannot yourself execute the orders. And since I'm playing coach most of the time, and thanks to my children and my wife and my key managers of 31 years, everybody seemed to already know what to do. Everybody knew, the first thing they knew was that it's a personal risk that they have to take and a personal sacrifice. So what I did was I said, to the best of my ability, I shall provide for any protection to make sure your immune system is strong, you are fetched, you are brought back to your home, you are fed. And so one store became 2 stores in 3 weeks, then became 5 stores in 3 weeks and 5 days. And when people saw that, hey, it's not that bad after all, if you wash your hands, if you cover your face, if you alcohol your hands, if you have social distancing, you avoid contacting, touch points that will spread it, then you probably will be better off. And so that started the confidence. And then later on, I realized that in these kinds of threats, there are opportunities. Anything that you can sell to communities through online or personal delivery will be a welcome. We got our team together and said, I told my son, since you're the digital officer, what does it take to advance by 1 year what we were supposed to do in 2021? And so he, together with the IT people of the company, came up with a solution to create an online platform where people will believe, people will see that it can happen. Because for 31 years, we never talked about delivery. We only talked about it, but we never did deliver. And now we realize that people are very reasonable. You tell them when the delivery day will be, then they order in advance, and then they send it. I think we were one of the first who have thought about putting the acrylics. For those who would like to dine, at least there is still another barrier, and barrier number 3, so to speak. So we are not just okay, I guess we have internalized. We have internalized already what it means to play safe. To play safe means to go by the rules because the consequences will be dire and long-lasting. Let's err on the side of caution. Everybody, come on, clean your hands. If the customer asks for, can you give me alcohol? Give, because that can save their family. And that family probably will not infect more families. Yeah, the new normal is everybody's normal. It's not difficult because they know by being negligent, they will injure customers. And vice versa. If they're not diligent, putting on their protection, they get injured by somebody else. So I think I'm very hopeful for our country because, we still, our Filipinos to show respect for the welfare of other Filipinos. If the business person, the leader, understands that success can only be achieved through teamwork, the leader will naturally, there's no choice, but to look after the welfare of every member in the team, whether it is physiological, emotional, spiritual, essential, whatever. So in this case, it is whatever you will need, I will help to provide you because you are a part of the team that will make it work. So this is a moment that everybody would have to now come together and say, what hurts you hurts me, and what benefits me I share with you. And when people have that feeling, I think they will naturally come out from the cold and say, come with it.
Hello once again and welcome back to the DOT-NCR's Leadership Excellence Series 2020 Rebuild and Redefine. I am Maria Tanwatco Trillo. So for those of you who have just tuned in, we are coming to you live from Okada, Manila. This event is also live on Zoom at Tourism MNL on Facebook and Twitter, IG, and YouTube. So do let the world know that you are here joining us for today's event by sharing our real-time updates on social media. Don't forget to use our hashtags. They are LES2020, DOT-NCR, Rebuild, Redefine. So that way we know and you know what people are saying about our event so far. Now, what you just saw was a short documentary featuring French Baker and Under Armour Philippines. So truly amazing and inspiring stories of adaptability during these unprecedented and most challenging times. And we surely hope that more businesses continue to explore different options in order to adapt, to pivot, so we can all truly recover as one. Okay, moving forward, it is time now for our second speaker for today's Leadership Excellence Series 2020 Rebuild and Redefine. And he's going to share with us his insights on leadership thriving amidst crisis. He is a best-selling author and a top-ranked multinational speaker and one of the 2 John Maxwell high-impact trainers in the country. Please give a very warm welcome to Mr. Ardy Abello.
Thank you very much, Ria. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for inviting. We're going to be talking about leadership and thriving amidst change or crisis. And when you talk about leadership, they say that there are only 2 types of leaders in the world today. Okay? There is the mature leader and if there's the mature, there's the very good children. There's the mature and the immature leader. The difference between the 2 is very simple. By the way, they say that maturity has nothing to do with age. Will you agree? Age is inevitable, but they say that growth is optional. If you don't believe me, you can look at that face beside you. Come on, look at that face beside you. Can you see the inevitable? Age is inevitable, but growth is optional. And the difference between the 2, the mature and the immature leader, is for the immature leaders, they say that they just choose between 2 options. They choose between good and bad options. When you say good and bad options, what's good for me, what will benefit me, what will make me advance in my career, and it's really a little bit more self-centered. And so when you choose between good and bad options, typically the output is mediocre or average. If you write down the word mediocre, M-E-D-I-O-C-R-E, and you get the first 2 letters, it spells the word children. Me, correct. And mediocre work or average work, they say, is work that's good enough for me. Ultimately, we all know that there is one person who will dictate quality. And that person is, you can type it in your chat box, or the box, the comment section in your Facebook. You can type it there. Ultimately, the person who will determine quality is the customer, the guest, our clients, right? How many of you here are married? Can I see your hands? Married? Married? Okay. Happily? Oh, you saw those hands go down? Some of you are married, yes. Happily? That's a different question. I've been married for 28 years now. And in 28 years, I have 5 kids. My eldest is 27, my second is 23, my third is 18, my fourth and only boy is 13, and my fifth is 7 years old. Nice. Leadership. And it's interesting because as a parent, as a father, we always want to give the best to our family, right? But ultimately, it is the family who will determine the quality of life that we provide. In the same manner, as leaders in our organizations, we may think that we're providing quality leadership. Ultimately, it is the team who will determine the quality of leadership that we provide. That is why they say that the mature leaders, they don't just choose between two options, they choose between three options. They choose between the good, the better, and the best. Correct. In the middle of trying times, in the middle of crisis, they see that which is good. They always see an opportunity. But they're never content. They want to turn that which is good into something that can be better, turn that which is better into something that can be the best. Not just for themselves, not just for the people that work with them or live with them, but for their guests, for our customers, our clients. Because that's what mature leadership is all about. Can you look at that face beside you? I'm talking to the people here with me. Can you look at that face beside you? Come on, look at that face beside you. Even if there's a mask on that face, look at that face. What do you see? Mature? Sabi ba premature? So let's go. Let's take a look at this. Oh, my clicker is working. I practiced. One word describes leadership. One word defines leadership. Can you please type it on your comment section on Facebook? One word defines leadership, and it is based on the book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It begins with the letter I. Can anyone tell me what that word is? When you talk about leadership, it is defined by one word. That word is integrity. Oh, I got that answer also before. Integrity, what else? Begins with the letter I. Inspiration. Okay, what else? Ideation or ideas, right? A lot of creative ideas. What else? Anyone else? One word defines leadership, and that word is wala akong prize eh. Sorry, I'm not like Jonathan Yabut. I don't have seminars that I can give you free passes to. I do have a bar that I can give you GCs to. I'll tell you about it later. Those of you that are typing, biglang magta-type na yung mga yan pag may prize. I'm telling you. One word defines leadership, and that word is influence. Yeah? The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, the law of influence simply says this: the true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So if you talk about leadership today, it's not just about title, position, or rank. It's really about influence. Even if you go on YouTube, if you go on Instagram, Facebook, social media, there are many there who don't have the title. They don't have the position, they don't have the rank, but they have the influence. That is why they are called today influencers. Correct. They're called influencers. I told you earlier that I own a bar and a restaurant. I'm the chairman of that company. I may have the title, correct? But who has the influence? I may have the title, but who has the influence? People in front of the house, back of the house, my servers, they're the ones who have the most influence with our customers, our clients, and our guests. And so we have to start thinking about how do we increase our influence. The late Stephen Covey told us that there are two circles in life. The first circle is what you call the circle of concerns, where there are many concerns, right? There are many concerns about people. And if you can just quickly, now that we're in this crisis, now that we're in this pandemic, now that we're in this state that we're in our country or in the world, what are certain concerns? What concerns us? Apart from health, what else concerns do people have? And you can type it also on the comment section on Facebook. Health, what else? Apart from health. Finances, absolutely, finances. Work, right? How do we operate? How do we sustain operations? There are many, many concerns. And he says, when you talk about your concerns, there is very little that you can do about your concerns. Some who are now working from home, their concern is not just their work, but their concern is also the children who are studying from home. Internet connection, connectivity, right? So when you think about it, these concerns, they say, we have no power to change overnight. Over time, yes, but overnight, no. In that circle of concern is us, where you have your circle of influence. So the late Stephen Covey says this: if we cannot do anything about our circle of concerns, we can certainly do something about ourselves. As leaders, we can do something from within and increase our circle of influence so that we can cover the circle of concerns and eventually overcome the circle of concerns. Interesting. So when you talk about leadership, it's really about how do we expand now our influence? How do we deepen our connection with people, but how do we expand our influence with people? Let me define change for you. Or let me ask you this. How are you feeling at this time of GCQ? How are you feeling at this time of GCQ? Now that we're here, there are some things here. I'll just mention a few. Write F, type F on the screen or on your comment if you're fearful. H if you're hopeful. Okay? F if you're fearful, there's still some fear of the future, fear of what's up ahead. Or H if you're hopeful for the future. How many of you in this room, there are many there, typing H, hopeful. How many of you in this room, there's still an amount of fear? Okay. How many of you in this room are hopeful? Yes. Very good. Why? Because the crisis is temporary. It's never permanent. Will you agree? Any crisis is always temporary. It's never permanent. And so therefore, we do have something to be hopeful for after all of this. And when you talk about change, this is the definition of change. Change is it on screen? Can I have this, my PowerPoint on screen? Change, alter, both mean to make a difference in the state or condition of a thing or to substitute another state or condition. If we can have it on the screen. It's not there? Okay. So again, change is to change, alter, both mean to make a difference in the state or condition of a thing or substitute another state or condition. So when you talk about change, there are three things to remember. Number one, when you talk about change, there has to be a point where you need to pivot. Jonathan talked about it earlier, pivot. We had to pivot. Why? Because as a bar, we are a non-essential. Tama? We're non-essential. In other words, if we were to operate, we would operate next year, middle of next year. If we would be allowed to go, people would be allowed to go out and party, that would be next year. If we're lucky, if we do so next year. So we had to pivot. What is a pivot? Pivot it means that you have to move from a non-essential to becoming an essential. Correct. So we talk about being an essential, we had to partner. We had to pivot to offer more food and turn our bar into a restaurant so that we can operate. We can operate at 30%, we can operate at 50%, but it's important to pivot. My son, who is a football player, all of a sudden had an interest in basketball because of the mini-series, The Last Dance on Netflix. Right? Remember that? Story about Michael Jordan, story about the Chicago Bulls, and Phil Jackson. So he was asking me, sabi niya, Papa, what does pivot mean? Because pivot is a term that you always hear in basketball. I said, pivot is very simple. Pivot is you put your foot, one foot is planted on the floor, and then you're able to move the other foot all the way around. And when you pivot two ways. You pivot defensively to protect the ball, or you pivot offensively so that when you see an open player, you can pass the ball to that player and they can make the shot, or take the shot yourself. And I was thinking about it, and in life, and in business, that's the same way. We pivot twice. Number one, we pivot defensively. What do we defend? Our values, our core values as an organization. Regardless of whatever changes, the core values have to remain the same. And we'll talk more about it later. But at the same time, we also have to pivot offensively to see how we can drive business further. So pivot is very, very important when you talk about change. The second thing is change will bring about some degree of chaos. Change will always bring some degree of chaos. Whether a small degree or a large degree, chaos will always be there. You're all familiar with Visa International, the credit card company, Visa International. The chairman emeritus of Visa International, his name is D. Hock. D. Hock. He was introduced as he was asked to speak to business leaders at a crucial time of change, economic change. As he was introduced, he went up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome D. Hock. D. Hock goes up on stage, and he gives his opening remarks. He greets them, and he says this: "Welcome, K-Ords." And he remained silent to let them think about what he just called them. He called them a K-Ord. A K-Ord is spelled C-H-A-O-R-D. A K-Ord comes from two words. What are those two words? Can anyone guess? K-Ord, C-H-A-O-R-D. If you can guess it, if you know it, type it on the comment section on Facebook. Anyone? Chaos is one. What's the second word? K-Ord. Chaos is one. What's the second word? Order? Yes. Chaos and order. Comes from two words, chaos and order. And he says this: I call you all K-Ords because in the business environment that we live in today, it's becoming very, very chaotic. And as leaders, we should be the ones to provide order in the midst of chaos, so that we can move the team forward and the company and the organization can move forward together with us. Then he continues his speech. Can you look at that face beside you? Come on, look at that face beside you. Can you see order in that face beside you? Okay. Or can you see, some are saying, guys, those of you that are watching on Facebook, some of them say, there's all chaos here. Be the K-Ord. Why? Because there's always going to be chaos. Whether personal chaos, team, department, organizational, there's always going to be chaos. But as leaders, it's our role, it's our duty to provide that order. When you talk about change, the third thing also is, remember, change is first defined as a verb. It's first defined as a verb. So when you talk about change, it's really active, it's moving. It's alive. They say that apart from taxes and death, the only thing constant in the world today is change. How many of you here are not on Facebook? You're not on Facebook. Okay. The chaos, yeah. So you see, we're still in order. Thank you very much. Thank you, tech team, for providing Mike with a strong battery, I hope. So, on Facebook, one time I wrote there, the rate by which change is changing has changed. Right? Sabi ni mga, galing, ano daw? The rate by which change is changing has changed. Meaning, what's the operative word? Nope, not just because change was mentioned 3 times, that means that's the operative word. What's the operative word? The operative word is rate, correct, rate. In other words, today we are living at a time where change has accelerated. And it's accelerated so fast. Napakabilis na ng pagbabago ngayon. Before, you can almost predict when things will change. But today, the minute, just take a look at your mobile devices. Take a look at your mobile devices. The minute you purchase your mobile device, guess what? It's already obsolete. That's why many years ago, 5 years ago, as a leadership consultant, we were already talking about this. A business strategy is planned obsolescence. What is planned obsolescence? Instead of letting other companies plan your obsolescence, how to make you obsolete, plan your own obsolescence. How? By creating better products and services, by becoming innovative and solving. Okay. Okay na tayo? Okay. Thank you. Again. So this time, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 3 ways or 3 insights on how do we become, how do we thrive in the midst of crisis. Insight number 1 is this. Do uphold your values. Do uphold your values. Jim Collins, who was our speaker in 2003, American Society for Training and Development, that was the year that he launched his book, Good to Great. He was talking about synopsis of his book, some parts of his book, and he said there, always remember to preserve the core, but stimulate progress. Preserve the core, but stimulate progress. In other words, he was talking about when change happens, as leaders, we must always go back to our values, our core values. What do we believe? How do we do things? It's not always just the what, but it's the how. How do we do things? Do we do things with integrity, honesty, accountability, responsibility? All of these things are core values that should not change over time. That remains to be constant. Another thing is when you talk about do uphold your values is who do we value? Who do we value? It's tough to reopen. I must admit, the restaurant industry, the F&B industry, it's tough to open. But why do we open? Why did we have to open? Not just because of ourselves, not just because we own a business, but because of our people. The people that are so dear to us, that said to us, Boss, kahit anong mangyari, nandito kami. We will stand with you. Just let us know when we're gonna open. Amazing. John are the most appreciable assets. People in any organization are the most appreciable assets. Everything else will depreciate. Will you agree? Everything else will depreciate, except people. That's why the best investment that we can make is an investment in the people, because they are people of value. Okay? Can I do a quick activity with you? Can you do a quick activity with you? Can I ask you to stand up? I'm talking to the people here in Okada. Can I ask you to stand up? Okay? Can I ask you to socially distance or physically distance with a partner from another table? Go. You partner with another person from another table. Partner up. Pair up with another person from another table. Okay, go. Physical distancing lang. Physical distancing, okay? But make sure that you're with a partner. Okay? Make sure that you're with a partner. Everyone has a partner? Yep. Okay, here we go. Now, and maybe our camera guys maybe want to focus on them. If we can have a little house lights on so that everybody on Facebook will be in on this also. So, this does not require physical, this is not a physical activity. Is that clear? But it requires a little acting. Okay? It requires a little acting. So, face your partner. Face your partner. Come on, face your partner. Yan, over here. There you go. Face your partner. Okay. Now, choose between the two of you. Who will be partner A and who will be partner B? Who's A? Who's B? Okay. So, here we go. So, I'm the director. You are the... I'm the director. You are the... Extras. Correct. Low budget film pala to. I'll share the talent. You're the artists. Okay. So, this is the scenario. Your best friends. Okay? Your best friends. Wait, masyadong excited. Your best friend, ganun na kagad. Relax. So your best friends, grade school, high school, college, you graduate. Best friend A, who's best friend A? Can I see your hands? Best friend A, okay. Best friend A, you tell your best friend B, I'm leaving for abroad. I'm gonna live and work
Oh
abroad.
my. Ida,
Okay.
iayos si madam.
Okay, relax. Okay, now, best friend A leaves. Best friend B stays in Manila. You're only in touch through social media. Many, many years after, it's your homecoming. You are the host batch. Best friend B knows A is coming home but does not know when. So you're working now here in Okada, and then best friend A pops up. He comes, he visits. And then you bump into each other. So B, you're naturally what? Naturally, your reaction is what? What's your reaction, B? Shocked, surprised, excited, right? Okay, ganun kayo ha. A and R. No reaction, deadma. Okay? Clear? A and R, be excited. Okay, positions, please, positions. Kunwari you're walking towards each other, then you bump into each other. Okay, here we go. Okada, scene 1, act 1. Here we go. Lights, camera, action! Okay, cut. Okay, so for a while. You know yung mga A natural, ano? Simula kanina, NR talaga. This time, both of you are equally excited to see each other. In fact, A, you found out that B won the biggest cash prize that Okada has offered. Yung pinakamalaking jackpot. Okay, here we go. And you know that B is so generous. Grabe. Okay, here we go. Positions, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Okada, scene 1, act 2. Lights, camera, action! Okay. Palakpakan naman mga kapatid. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. Question. Which was better, act 1 or act 2? Act 2. Why? Because there's cash? Ano? There's cash? Okay, question. Was there communication in Act 1? Yes or no? Yes. One-way communication. Meron. One-way communication, right? One-way communication means nagte-text, hindi ka nire-replyan. Scene zone. You email, but they don't reply. Are you following? So, question number 2, what was present in Act 2 that was not present in Act 1? It also begins with the letter C. Kung communication yung Act 1, there was something better in Act 2. What was that? Letter C, and it's not cash. You know what it is? Connection. 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. The law of connection simply says this: leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. Leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. Before you can effectively ask people to work with or for you, don't just know about them, know them. And if you take a look at the brands today that have made it to the top, it's not the one that communicates the benefit of the product. It's the one that's made the best connections with the customer, right? The law of connection is very powerful. Do uphold your values and the people that you value. Law of connection. Next, insight number 2. I only have a few more minutes with you. Outwork everyone else. Outwork everyone else. In other words, if people say work smart, I do agree you need to work smart, but at the same time, you also have to work hard. Nothing beats hard work. How do you think athletes become the prime athletes, the leaders in their sport? Because they work hard. They work hard at training, they discipline themselves, and nothing beats hard work. I like this Chinese proverb. It says, when there is crisis, two things exist: danger of failure or opportunity of quantum leap. In fact, if you write down the word crisis in Chinese characters, it will present two characters. The first character talks about the word fear. The second character talks about the word opportunity. But when you put the two characters together, it spells the word crisis. So for every crisis situation, there's always going to be fear. Tama? When we started the pandemic, when we started the lockdown in March, there was fear. When everybody said we're all on ECQ, we were fearful. We would always watch the news, right? We'd always watch the news to see with the case count going up. But at some point, we have to look beyond the fear and see what opportunity lies ahead. Because there are many, many opportunities. And so that is why many of us are hopeful for that opportunity that lies ahead in 2021 and beyond. Uphold your values, outwork everyone else, and the last is this. Insight number 3 is thrive together through change. If you can move to the next slide. I've already shifted to the next slide. Yep, the last one here. Back up. Okay. Thrive together through change. I like what Jokoy said. He said this, I got a big, you know Jokoy? He always likes to make fun of his mom, no? Just like all of us. We always like to make fun of our moms, no? What he says is, I got a big Filipino family. That's what I love about being Pinoy. We all gotta surround ourselves with family. We all gotta laugh and do things together. I love it. It's family first. So when you think about working together, the way we will thrive throughout these changes is not by ourselves. We will have to look to the person to our left, look to the person to our right, and then trust them because they are family. Apart from being co-workers, they are really family. A family or family is one who will always look out for each other. I'll end with this last law. It's called the law of solid ground. The law of solid ground simply says this: trust is the foundation of leadership. Trust is the foundation of leadership. When leaders trust their team, the team trusts their leader, and the team trusts each other, there is nothing that the team cannot do to overcome any challenge. We've had to pivot. Our restaurant is a family corporation, but I've had to partner with others because I realized I can't do it alone. I've had to partner with someone who will run my kitchen. I've had to partner someone who will run the bar. I've had to partner because we all have to go through this together. It's part of us. Bayanihan nga eh. Di ba? Ang bayanihan, yung sabay-sabay natin binubuhat ang bahay ng ibang tao or hindi bahay, tahanan ng ibang tao para lang mailipat. At ganun din tayo sana. While we move forward and thrive, we will do it all together. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much. Ria?
All right, thank you so much for that, Artie.
Thank you.
Full of hopeful, positive messages, but also practical steps that people can take as they make that pivot. So thank you so much. And once again, we are going to give, just as we did with Jonathan, with Artie, we're going to give all of you guys here and watching online 10 minutes to ask any questions that you might have in relation to his wonderful, wonderful talk. Okay, so let's see if we got some up here. Not yet. I have one for you. You said, oh no, we got one right here from Jay. It says, how to manage conflict in the midst of pandemic, how to resolve issues without face-to-face meetings. And there are certain conversations that are most effective when you're in person, but it's not possible anymore.
Yeah. I think the way we were able to manage conflict in the midst of the pandemic and resolve the issues, not face-to-face, is to have conversations. And that's so common now because we're all online. We're all on, we're all on Zoom, MS Teams, whatever platform you use. But it's important to have those conversations. Because the reason why many conflicts arise is because of a lack of two things. Communication. It's either miscommunication, MIS communication, or missed communication, MISSED. And that is normally the source of conflicts that we've seen. When someone says something and it's misunderstood, or they really do not communicate, and so therefore there are many assumptions that are made. And then all of a sudden we find out that the conflict is already there, right in front of us. So for us in the team, we've always made sure that to have those meaningful conversations. Every Tuesday, I'm sure you all have your own, every Tuesday is a staff meeting. We talk to each other, everything is brought up there. If you need to take it up with me or with any of the management team separately, then you do it immediately after the meeting. But it's important to have those meaningful conversations so that you don't have any miscommunication or missed communication. And so therefore you minimize. I think you can't really avoid conflict. It's always going to be there. It's just that it has to be constructive conflict, not destructive. Because conflict is important. Because you have different people in the team. So as a leader, you're the one who manages that conflict to make sure that it becomes constructive rather than destructive. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. Jay, I believe is the person.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if we can't have face-to-face conversations, keep the conversation going in whatever way that we possibly can. So something you said earlier that struck me, you said, people are always your most appreciable assets, right? And you're very lucky you have a team that's very gung-ho and ready to fight the pandemic, but others may not be so lucky. Yeah. What do you do when your appreciable assets are feeling worried and hopeless and scared?
Okay, so what we've done is we've always encouraged an open door policy, meaning if there's anything that you fear, tell us, talk to us. And by the way, when I talk about appreciable asset, I'm talking about people with the right character. People with the right character. Because people with the right character, if you invest properly in them, the investment will pay you dividends over time. People with the wrong character or bad character, no matter what you invest in them, will not bring you dividends over time. And so I think when you talk about them being the most appreciable assets, if you build trust with your people, your team, and it's always the function of the leader, by the way. It's the leader reaching out to help build that trust. Because left to themselves, people will not want to come up to you and say, boss, we trust you. You have to show that to them. You have to be trustworthy to them. And when that happens, then you're able to make sure that these people now become your most appreciable assets. They can come to you with their fears. They can come to you if they feel hopeless, Just to be transparent with all of you, our manager, his mom passed away just a few weeks ago. And at the time of COVID, you know what I mean? But he was very open, he was very honest. There's so many fears that he had. But because the team was supportive, we took him in like a family, then everything goes well. Are you following? So, importante yun. That's very important when you talk about being the most appreciable asset. Check the character first. Okay? Character and competence yan eh. I'll just mention this. Competence is only 10% of a person's success. Character is the 90% that we all have to look for. Dr. Tim Elmore, in his book Habitudes, said, competence will get you to the top, but it's your character that will keep you on top. And in the same way, when you take a look at all leaders that have failed, it's not because of competence issues. It's because of character issues. Yeah.
All right, so I just saw a question there also. Sort of on the flip side of the question that I just asked you, what happens if your people are losing hope? What happens if you as a leader are losing hope?
Okay, good question. I don't know. As a leader, by the way, as a leader, can I tell you this? We also have to have leaders above us. We also have to have leaders above us. As I said, we can't do things alone. And if you look at most companies, most organizations today, it's no longer the one person on top. It's no longer the leader in the ivory tower. It's always the leadership team, right? The management team. It's always a team. And so I think the transparency, the trust starts there. You know what I mean? So that even if you're the leader, leaders are not supposed to be perfect. Right? But they're expected to be authentic. Leaders are not supposed to be perfect, but they are supposed to be authentic. Meaning you're true to yourself. You're true about what you feel, what you think, right? And you're just able to express it properly through the proper channel. So kung ikaw leader, medyo kabado ka, kailangan meron ka rin kasama that you now report to them, quote unquote, report to them and say, how do we do this? There are certain things that I fear. And I've been honest with a lot of my partners, a lot of the people. I don't have all the answers. But together we can have the answers.
Right. So mali yung sinasabi nila na it's lonely at the top. It can be, but it shouldn't be.
Yes, it can be, but it shouldn't be. Agree, totally agree.
All right. And actually, when you and I were speaking before the program started, you do a lot of mentoring one-on-one with executives. And of course, when the pandemic hit, they're all calling you, saying, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And you had to tell them, I don't know. I've never been through a pandemic myself. What was that like?
It was tough because we were all looking at the same thing, but from different perspectives. This is something I learned from my partner in business before, Anthony. Some of you may know him, Anthony Pangilinan. Can you all just point to the ceiling? Everybody, can you all point to the ceiling? Okay, can you draw clockwise circles to the right? Okay, clockwise, okay, to the right. Okay, then lower it, still pointing upwards, still pointing upwards. Okay, lower it until it reaches stomach level. Look down. Is it still clockwise?
No.
Sabi ni Ria, I can teach my kids this. Interesting, no? When you first showed it to me, I said, nga, no? And question is, you didn't change the direction of where you were pointing, right? You were still pointing upwards, right? You didn't change the motion. You were still turning clockwise. What changed? Perspective, point of view, correct. And so we're looking at the same pandemic, we're looking at the same crisis, we're looking at the same quarantine, but from different perspectives. That's the beauty of having people or leaders around you helping you solve problems. Because, hey, we don't have all the answers, but we can ask the right questions. Are you following? We can't have all the answers, but we can certainly ask the right questions. That will give us different perspectives.
So we have one from online. It says, how do we sustain the message of hope and positive thinking among our people who have lost their jobs? And that is just a sad reality of the times we're in.
Yeah. That's a tough question, I don't know if you have an answer to that. I guess sometimes you just have to be there for them, right? I mean, if they've lost income, they've lost jobs. I think people have to know that there is someone, even if they've lost their job, even if they've lost income, there is someone that they can still go to. And I think that's the difference between a coach and a mentor. A coach will help you build your career. A mentor is there for the holistic approach to your life. So in other words, be a mentor to someone who has lost their job. Or if you can, find a way with your connections, with people, find a way. Maybe people might find a job somewhere else. There are many in the industry who have lost their work. But because we know also people who need employees in the food and beverage industry, then it's easy now to tell them to pass them off. But it's important kasi that you always speak hope, because in any crisis, everything becomes negative. Everything becomes negative. So it's important that you're always talking hope, you're always talking positive, grounded. I'm not saying that you're talking about positive things that really won't happen. I'm talking about positivity in terms of opportunities. What are opportunities out there? If we focus always on the opportunities, we will have less and less time to focus on the fear. In a crisis situation, if you focus more of your time on opportunities, you will have no time to focus on the fear. I hope I answered the question, Leah.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always so inspiring. So thank you. We've got so much to ask, but we really just don't have all the time. So
Thank you.
RD Abelio, thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
And that ends the second part of our program. I hope that Mr. Abelio has moved and inspired you with his sharing and his many experiences. I know that I've had a lot of learnings and can't wait to share them with my friends, my colleagues, and family. So for those of you who have just tuned in, we are coming to you live from Okada, Manila. This event is also live on Zoom at Tourism MNL on Facebook, Twitter, IG, and YouTube. And as our webinar continues, so does the increase in our number of participants in all platforms to 500 and increasing. That is on Facebook. So for those of you who just joined us, welcome, welcome. Do let the world know that you're here by sharing our real-time updates on social media. Of course, we have the hashtags LES2020, DOT-NCR, and Rebuild, Redefine. So if you want to use those hashtags also, so you know what other people are saying, please go ahead and do that. Of course, today's program wouldn't be complete without hearing from another pillar of the Department of Tourism. So to share with us her thoughts and insights is the Department of Tourism's very own Assistant Secretary, now Officer in charge of the Office of the Undersecretary for Tourism Regulation, Coordination, and Resource Regulation. Please join me in welcoming OIC USEC Maria Rica C. Bueno.
Good afternoon. I would like to begin acknowledging our own Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat, whom we have heard in a recorded video message earlier with some reassuring words that we ought to hear as we slowly restart the business of tourism amidst this uncharted territory we now call the new normal. Our Secretary's message was loud and clear: to carefully strike a balance between safety of the communities and the restoration of the economy remains the Department of Tourism overarching goal as tourism activities go full steam ahead. This slow and gradual resumption of domestic tourism is a shared exercise, one that involves the government and the private sector, as we have seen in Boracay, Baguio, Ilocos Norte, among other destinations now open to domestic tourists. DOT-NCR Regional Director R.R. Makiling said it best: "We are back in business." He, however, gave a caveat that while we are back in the grind, this is not business as usual. Indeed, this groundbreaking online learning event, dubbed Leadership Excellence Series 2020, Rebuild and Redefined, could not be more timely as we all face a tourism industry grappling to rebuild consumer confidence and redefine business strategies. Rarely do we get the opportunity to listen and learn from such a powerhouse lineup of speakers led by our country's tourism chief and two distinguished and esteemed thought leaders and influencers, the millennial guru Jonathan Yabut and John Maxwell certified trainer RD Abelio. I, for one, could not be more grateful to be given this distinct honor to share some of my takeaways from today's discussions in the hope to elicit critical thinking and spark ideas among our participants and viewers. As we continue to face a world of uncertainty, one thing we have learned from our speakers today is that travel and tourism will never be the same again. And one of the fastest ways we can rebuild consumer confidence and perception is through the digital world. By harnessing this readily available platform of the World Wide Web, we can navigate safely and creatively the business of tourism once more. Let us take it from our apprentice Asia turned millennial guru Jonathan Yabut, who said that selling has not only become so much easier, Advertising and promotions have become more convenient and cheaper too. But he also said we have to know who our target market is. According to him, a social media influencer himself, promoting a product or service through Facebook or Twitter, and now TikTok is practically free, but the catch is to use it smartly and strategically. Online presence is very important because content is the new currency. On the other hand, what we are witnessing now with the safe and gradual reopening of industries, such as tourism, is but possible because there is a strong leadership behind it. Our high-impact trainer, RD, puts it succinctly: everything rises and falls on leadership. He describes leadership as something that goes beyond profit, but also requires social responsibility. How our businesses impact our society now matters. And most importantly, RD said, the true measure of leadership is influence. No more, no less. I echo what RD Abello said, that crisis does not make one a leader. Instead, it exposes the kind of leader a person is. Therefore, one's response in today's crisis has something to do with the choices one made in the past. Let me also thank our equally intelligent moderator, no less than CNN Philippines New Day and the newsroom anchor, Ria Tanwatco Trillo, who did an excellent job in steering the discussions. Kudos to the Department of Tourism National Capital Region for yet another high-caliber offering. We hope we end the day with better informed and equipped tourism players and workforce who are ready to turn around business challenges beyond the pandemic and who can once again make the tourism business our country's low-hanging fruit. As we bring this online learning event to a close, I would like to highlight the importance of directing our collective efforts toward a safe and sustainable conduct of tourism, one that calls for beyond business as usual, like what we always say in the DOT. Tourism is everybody's business. Hence, it is our job, you and I, to make the tourism business a success story once more. To all our registrants on Zoom and our viewers on Facebook, YouTube, and PTV4, I hope this exceptional online learning event, inspired from the world-renowned TED Talks, was able to provide you with interesting new leadership perspectives and business acumen, especially in these unprecedented times. Let me again thank each and every one of you for joining us in the last 2 hours of big ideas, intelligent discourse, inspiring talks. That is the Department of Tourism National Capital Region's Leadership Excellence Series, Rebuild and Redefine. Together, let us travel again as one. Mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Okay, thank you so much for that message, OIC Undersecretary Bueno. We sincerely and humbly look forward to seeing more positive and progressive changes in the coming days. Thanks, of course, to the efforts of the Department of Tourism, which never cease to find ways and creative solutions for the nation during this time of crisis. So thank you very much, po. And we extend our utmost appreciation to everyone who joined us both physically here in Okada and virtually online. And of course, to the proponents of this remarkable hybrid learning event, the Department of Tourism, National Capital Region. Thank you very much. Indeed, after Leadership Empowerment and the Leadership Excellence Series 1 today, we have seen the proof of concept that once leaders and organizations and companies are empowered, that we will see exceptional changes, positive changes, not just in the tourism sector, but also throughout the country. So thank you very much. And I also want to thank everybody who was responsible for the short documentary that we saw earlier today. right? We saw that the next step of planning and implementing are progressive stories, as we saw with Under Armour, with the French baker, and many more local businesses in the country. So our thrust in Leadership in Excellence series is to share big ideas, to provide intelligent discourse and inspirational talks in our aim to provide support to leaders and organizations to continuously find ways to adapt, to pivot, and to thrive hand in hand as we surpass the challenges of the so-called new normal. So thank you, DOT-NCR, through Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat, USEC Art Boncato, OIC USEC Maria Rica C. Bueno. We have the pleasure of seeing in person, in the flesh today. Director Rowena Montesillo of the Office of Industry Manpower Development Unit, Regional Director R.R. Makiling, and our partners in the Presidential Communications Operations Office, to Secretary Martin Andanar and French baker Under Armour Philippines for accommodating us to shoot the documentary, to Positive Exposure Productions, Inc., and the Academy of Professional Excellence for making this event possible. And of course, to our two distinguished, esteemed speakers, Mr. Jonathan Yabut and Mr. R.D. Abelio. Thank you so much for giving us the much needed inspiration and insights as all of us try to rebuild our confidence to travel again and redefine our standards in conducting the business of tourism. So until the next DOT-NCR's Leadership Excellence Series, this has been Ria Tanwatco Trillo saying goodbye from Okada, Manila, and see you soon. Thank you, everyone, and mabuhay!
Just woke up from the time of my life. It started with a major throwback. Then I got to meet the big shots. I found a sweet spot between cultures and hung out with the artsy crowd. I even picked up a few things along the way. After that, things kicked into overdrive. It started with a whirlwind through the streets, an unforgettable eats, a celebration of flavor in every bite, and an epic new party at every turn. The best thing about it here, the good times are never over.
Lights, city sights, shopping malls, little stalls, flip-flops, rock and roll street smart. Fine art, new and old, bronze, gold, warm, charm, hot and cold. Quick bites, foodie finds, nice smiles, wild style, cheap thrills, sky high, knick-knacks, welcome back.